Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Community Focus here on Channel 6 TV. We're coming up on a very, very special time of the year, and that time is Christmas. And as we record this show, it's before Christmas time, and it may be seen during Christmas or after Christmas when you're at home, but it's still the Christmas season. And again, we certainly want to wish you all a Merry Christmas as we enter this season and go through this together. And to commemorate this time of year, I brought in a good special friend of ours to come in and talk. He's, I guess, a minister extraordinaire, I'm going to say. I mean, he's not only with the police and fire department and EMS, with the Flagey Hospital and your own church at the Church of the Ascension in Bardstown. So I say you've cornered the market on ministers. That's for Minister Carl Lusk here with us.
Well, thank you, Kenny. And no, I haven't cornered the market at all, and I have no intention of doing that. I'm just thankful to be able to serve.
Well, like I said, it's serving you do, because I know obviously being a pastor of a church has probably got some serious challenges, but working with people on a day-to-day basis like you do on the emergency services and things of that nature, you got to see a lot of things most of us don't want to see.
And that's true. We're very fortunate here in Nelson County that there are 4 of us who serve as chaplains to law enforcement, fire, and EMS, and the coroner's office. And all of us are specially trained, and all of us are understanding that we do this ministry voluntarily. And yes, it's sometimes a very muddy road to walk in, but indeed we see the hand of God even in the muddiest of roads, and are thankful for that opportunity.
Well, and working at the hospital, and I know right before you come in today, you were telling me about you met with someone possibly terminally ill. I mean, that's something you have to do on a regular basis, and it's got to be difficult. I mean, I know obviously you're there to provide comfort, but you're still a human being, and it's got to be difficult for you to do that.
Well, you know, there's a higher power, however one wants to understand that. And frankly, I'm not going to fix anything or everything. And I just simply say, God, this one's bigger than me. You take it. And that's basically what you do. And we try to take good care of ourselves as well. You know, we go to the gym, try to get plenty of sleep. That isn't always possible, but to do those things that help us feel good about who we are, spend time with family. We had wonderful opportunity with a lot of our family this past weekend, the weekend before the Christmas weekend, and that's always a great joy to have children, adult children now, and grandchildren, and the grandchildren are getting to be adults too. But we have a lot of fun, and it's a very enjoyable time, and so taking care of oneself is important. And I will just say that we tend sometimes in these holiday seasons to overindulge a little bit in a lot of ways, and I would encourage folks to remember, take care of yourself and do what you need to do to follow a regimen of trying to eat right for the most part, and get plenty of rest, and to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody
else.
Again,
when you're taking care of others, you're at the hospital. And what is the primary thing you're doing at the hospital? You're there comforting the patient, or are you there comforting the families with the patient? I mean, what do you see you do the most?
Our chaplaincy program at Flagey Hospital, which has 5 part-time chaplains, all seminary graduates, all ordained people, all people who have been specially trained in healthcare ministry. We are there for everybody. We're there for patients. In fact, we see every new inpatient within 24 to 36 hours, simply to make ourselves known to them and to see if there are any spiritual or other needs that they may have beyond the actual healthcare part of it. We're there for their families. We're there for our hospital staff. When you work shifts in a hospital, oftentimes it's very difficult to be involved in the life of a church congregation, and so we're there in a pastoral role for not only the patients and their families, but for our staff as well. We do a lot of work in the emergency department. We are all trained in crisis chaplaincy, and certainly when there's serious emergencies, those are crises, and we're called in for those particular situations.
Well, it's a special time of year around Christmas, and I know you hear people that have lost a lot of family members, and it's a lonely time of the year for people. Do you find this a little more challenging this time of year, or is the challenge there all year long and the average person just doesn't see it?
Holidays are tough. I can speak from my own personal experience. I remember the first Thanksgiving after my mother passed away, and we went ahead with Thanksgiving dinner because she would have insisted that we do that. Mm-hmm. And yes, there was an empty chair at the table, and yes, it was tough. But the other part of that is, if it hadn't been tough, there'd been something wrong. The same thing was true when my dad died, and I can even go back to my grandparents. My grandfather loved Christmas. He was a veterinarian in rural central Kentucky, and Christmas was everything for him. And we had a lot of different, what I want to say, practices that were part of the Christmas routine. Mm-hmm. And so after he passed away, we weren't going to let those things that we always did at Christmas pass away either. So in his memory, we continued to observe Christmas, Christmas Eve and so forth, the way that he always wanted us to. And yes, it was not easy. But on the other hand, I'll say this one more time, if it had been easy, there would be something wrong. I try to help folks remember that our tears are the measure of the depth of our love, and it's all right to shed a tear. It's also all right, though, to rejoice in all the memories that come to us when we have experienced, yes, the passing of a loved one. There are all those memories, and those memories are what we want to hold on to, especially at a time like this. But yes, holidays are tough, and we just need to be aware that they're going to be tough, and realize that they're tough because we care.
Well, 2016 has been a very eventful year. Not only just in Nelson County, we've had several tragedies over the last couple of years that's shaken us to our core, and to a large degree. And we've had some national things that's went on that people are in distress over, and even worldwide. I mean, is there hope? I mean, I guess that's the question. Well, are we getting to the place right now that people are losing hope, losing their faith, or what do we have to do?
Well, life has always had its ups and downs. If we want to study ancient history, there were calamities and crises, and people were born and people passed away, and there were all kinds of things that impacted folks' lives, and it's been that way since time immemorial, if you will. I don't know that it's any worse today. I think we're maybe more aware of a lot of negative things that happen outside of our particular part of the world we live in, because we can get news instantly. Mm-hmm. The broadcast media are there as something happens, whether that happens to be a terrible automobile accident or the commission of a heinous crime or whatever it is. We learn about it in real time, not after the fact. And so that indeed, I think, does weigh heavier on us. And it again is a reason for us to realize that we've got to take care of ourselves so we can move through those kind of situations. But I don't think that things are necessarily worse. I think we're just more aware, and we're made more aware because we can get all of that in real time.
Well, again, all this stuff going on. Does church play a role? What role will church play in getting the community back to feeling good about themselves again? I mean,
well, church has a role to play. Unfortunately, sometimes church has not played that role very well, and it doesn't make any difference what your denomination or affiliation is. Sometimes church has not done the best job, but we have to remember something. Church is humanity's effort to try to reach God's perfection on earth, and that's not going to happen because we're not perfect, and we can't be perfect, and we're human, and in our humanity, sometimes we forget that indeed, church can play a part, but we also have to understand that church is people. It's not a building. It's the people in the building, and that all us folks are human, and we're going to make mistakes. Church can play a good part if folks will give church a chance to do that. Sometimes I think that folks, for whatever reason, have gotten out of the habit of a lot of things that we used to do in former generations. We have a lot of demands on our time. When I, now 71 years old, was growing up, Sunday was a day for families to gather. Yes, together in worship, but also together around the Sunday dinner table and to spend time together as a family. And now there's so many demands upon us during the week and on Sunday as well. I mean, we have athletic practices on Sunday, and whether you're a person affiliated with a faith community or not, we've lost the ability to have Sunday as a family time. And that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that there are so many choices out there, and that we feel that we have to be involved in all those choices, that we don't necessarily have that time to sit down as a family, eat a meal, talk about what's happened in the week past, what's going to happen in the week ahead. I can remember as a kid, we'd have Sunday dinner, and after that was over, us kids would all play cards, or we'd play Monopoly, or whatever the case might be. We did something together, and the adults would join in with us. I had grandmothers that we played rummy and Old Maid and Rook and all of that with those grandmothers, and I tell you what, the grandmothers as well as the grandfathers pretty sharp in those games, but every now and then they'd let us kids win. But those are the kind of memories and the kind of activities that I think somehow in the hustle and bustle of the world today, with all that's good about it, that part of what's not so good is the loss of true family time, interacting with each other as family, not necessarily being spectators watching a child in an athletic competition, but actually being able to converse and talk and share. And I'm going to say something else that the folks that are watching may want to take umbrage with me about. Social media is beneficial, but social media can also be harmful. And when we spend more time exercising our thumbs with the iPads and the cell phones and so forth, to the detriment of being able to talk to each other live, we're isolating ourselves. And so we want to be careful about how we use social media, and we want to be careful about how we teach our children to use social media, so that it becomes a useful tool and not something that we're addicted to. Kenny, you and I, before we went on the air today, we made sure our cell phones were off or on vibrate or whatever. And in fact, you left yours outside the studio. I put mine way over here on a chair in the studio so that I would not be distracted by it. Social media can be a distraction. And like all the gifts that we have, that modern technology brings to us, modern medicine, whatever it may be, we need to use those things wisely and to not let them be. It also
gives them a little sense of bravery. Sometimes you say things on social media that you wouldn't say to somebody face to face.
Well, that's the point. Never post anything online, email, social media, Facebook, whatever. Never post anything you don't want the whole world to see. Stop, think, act responsibly. Or as Judge Ito told folks at O.J. Simpson's trial, stop, let's just take 10 deep breaths. And sometimes we need to do that before we engage with social media. So in this Christmas season, I'm just going to say, take a little time. Take a little time to set the cell phone aside. Take a little time to talk more to each other in your families and among your friends. Take a little time to sit and think about the joys of Christmas as opposed to the hustle and bustle of it. That's free, unsolicited advice, and it's worth exactly what you paid for it, but I offer it nonetheless.
Well, you're going to be in the pulpit on Christmas Day. Is that the message, or what's the message that basically your parishioners are going to be hearing that day?
The message is that that for us of the Christian persuasion, God so loved the world, and God made the world, and God makes each one of us, and God does so out of unconditional love. And so it is out of unconditional love that a little baby is the manner in which God chose to come to earth, to walk among us, to live among us, to let us know how much God loves us. And that's really what it's about. And about then what response do we make to that unconditional love of God?
And we're all invited. And that's the key. That's key
right.
to it in church on Sunday and God's kingdom. And I think that's the part that's so amazing is no exclusions.
That's the way it should be. There should be no exclusions. There's 70-some congregations in Nelson County. And if you are of the Christian persuasion, I encourage you on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day to seek out one of those 70 and simply walk through the doors, whether you've been there recently or whether you've never been there, to walk through the doors and expect and gain God's love through the people that are in that building and worshiping. And certainly folks who are not of the Christian persuasion, you have your own holidays, and I encourage you on those holidays to take part as a community of faith, whatever that faith may be.
Well, it's a good time to celebrate humanity of all faiths, like you said, and we're all children of God, and may come in from a different part of the family or something, but we all serve one God. And every Sunday, you're open every Sunday. I know Christmas is a big time of year. You get a big crowd, and then it maybe taper off a little bit throughout the year, but Christmas could be just about every Sunday if somebody practices it right.
Well, for many of us Christians, every Sunday is both a little Christmas and a little Easter.
Well, Carl, we do appreciate you being with Reverend Carl Lusk to being here with us today. And again, he's carried many hats, and we certainly appreciate all what you're doing, because I know there's a lot of people that have benefited from, probably more people than you know, have benefited from the counseling and you just simply being there. And like I said, I've been to the hospital many times. There's things goes on, the emergency room, surgery, and it's good to know that somebody's there that's, I'm not saying representing God, but they're delivering the message anyway.
Well, we're a presence. We're a presence that represents what the Spirit of God means, and in that sense, we're not being God, but we're representing, if you will. We're offering a presence for the spiritual side of our lives, and we're thankful that we can do that.
All right. Well, appreciate you being here, and appreciate all you're doing, and Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Right.
Thank you.
Reverend Carl Lusk here with the Flagey Hospital, Emergency Medical Services, and Medical Services Police Fire Department, and others, and as well as the Church of the Ascension here in Barstow.